Welcome back. A Sarasota law firm files a lawsuit claiming the city of Venice violated public records laws.
The lawsuit claims city employees were texting government business on their phones, but not keeping the texts as records. ABC 7's Christopher Brantley is here in the studio to tell us more. Christopher?
Oh, good evening. The lawsuit says, based on information and belief, the city did not properly archive and retain public records as required by the public records law. So, what did city staff members allegedly do to violate that law? According to the lawsuit, the city failed to keep records of electronic conversations between staff members.
They have already told us, the city attorney, that there are messages that have been irretrievably, permanently lost.
The conversations allegedly happened via text messaging, something Venice has had a strict policy and phone blocks against.
Our phones were updated by the carrier, and when the carrier updated the phones, it turned off that prevention of texting.
Michael Barfield is the paralegal investigating the case. He told us code enforcement officers were texting about government business. When Barfield and the law firm he's working for found out, they couldn't get a copy of those texts because they had allegedly been deleted.
Public records belong to the public. If government officials are communicating about public business and then delete that information, that violates the law.
When asked about the claims, Venice's Mayor John Hollick had this to say.
No, it's an unfortunate thing. It's a very costly thing. I think when the texts were sent, they were sent innocently, but nonetheless, if there was something sent, it was a violation.
Barfield couldn't say whether the texts were sent and deleted innocently or intentionally. That's something he hopes to learn when the text messages are uncovered.
The only other way to recover them is to issue a subpoena to Verizon, and we very likely will be doing that soon.
Venice is not unfamiliar with these types of lawsuits. Just 10 years ago, the city was fined over $1 million for sunshine law violations. They're hoping to avoid that happening again.
We have an attorney that's been working on this with us, and we're going to hold a special meeting, a private attorney-client meeting, so that the attorney can brief us.
Now, that private meeting with city council members could take place as early as next week. There will be a court reporter taking verbatim notes of what is said. Those notes will not be released until after that lawsuit is closed. Jacqueline?
Okay, thank you so much, Christopher. A Venice City Council member is pushing to cut down on large vehicle traffic in downtown Venice. With the presence of cement trucks, tractor trailers, and other big rigs, Venice City Council member Chuck Newsom says the traffic cuts down on Venice's scenic downtown, making pedestrians and outdoor diners have to deal with the dirt and smoke that they cause. That's why he's pushing to put limits on West Miami, West Venice, and West Tampa avenues by vehicles with more than 2 axles or prohibiting them entirely. The proposal comes right before major work on those roads will begin in April, and vehicles will need to be rerouted. Another major concern with that proposal, however, is that it could cause problems for local businesses from getting their deliveries.
Speaking of Venice, a day of racing is coming to the city's Intracoastal Waterway. The city deciding this week to allow the Sarasota Scullers youth rowing program to hold the Battle of the Bridges there. That's a U.S. rowing sanctioned event which will feature 35 different races. It's scheduled for Saturday, September 15th. The city has agreed to provide security for that event on land and on the water, and around 200 athletes are expected to participate.
Well, let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan for a look at your first alert forecast and to see how the evening will be if you plan on taking a nice stroll this evening.
Well, thank you, Jacqueline and Scott. We are looking at nice weather throughout this evening. Should not be a big factor as far as any rainfall goes or anything like that. The sunset should be gorgeous, too. We are watching a couple of things. There's an area of low pressure that's moving down from the Pacific Northwest. That's going to continue to move off in this direction. Also, a low pressure will be developing over the southern portion of Louisiana and then pushing off to the northeast. This will happen basically Saturday evening and then change our weather for Sunday as it moves off to the east. Currently, though, no storms around, 69 degrees. It's nice out there. It's mostly sunny, and the dew point's coming up a little bit, but it still feels kind of cool to start things off. So sweaters and jackets again tomorrow morning with that east wind. It turns to more of the northeast through the overnight hours. The pressure continues to scream up there, 30 right now, and that is high. So that makes our nice day. That makes for a nice day tomorrow with that high pressure so strong. We're going to see mostly sunny skies in the morning. We'll start off in the low 50s. It'll feel actually a little cooler in that upper 40s. and then we'll warm into the mid-70s by 3 o'clock with a few clouds around, and 68 by 7 o'clock. And current temperatures 50s, 53 in Jacksonville now. It's 65 in Orlando, 73 now in Miami, and 72 in Key West. We'll have more on the storm system headed our way coming up in just a couple of minutes. Back to you.
Okay, Bob, thank you. Most middle-class Americans are expected to feel the effects of the new GOP tax plan. The biggest tax cuts will impact higher income groups. The Tax Policy Center found the average American family would get a tax cut of $1,600 to bring up the average household income by 2.2%. Middle-class families will see an average of $30 additional per week. It also found it's not as beneficial in the long term and found taxes would increase for 5% of Americans this year, and 53% would pay more in taxes in the year 2027.
There's nothing better than getting more money in the hands of the American people so that they can spend it, because they can spend it a lot more wisely than the government can.
If anything, some of these new tax rates, given their income, they might actually end up paying more.
Coming up tonight on ABC 7 News at 7, we'll explain when you can expect to feel the effects of the tax plan.
And Florida could make it harder to raise taxes or fees in the future under a proposed constitutional amendment that cleared the Florida House today. The House voting in favor of a measure that would require the Florida legislature to approve tax hikes by a 2/3 vote. That proposal is a top priority for Governor Rick Scott, who wants it to go before voters this coming November. Next, it heads to the Florida Senate, which so far has not considered the bill. Those who oppose the legislation say the move would prevent the legislature from cleaning up loopholes and tax breaks.
A Department of Justice watchdog has recovered thousands of missing text messages, causing concern among some Republicans on Capitol Hill. As ABC's Arlette Saenz reports, some GOP lawmakers have called for a deeper investigation into text messages between two senior FBI officials that include critical comments about President Trump while he was a candidate.
Missing FBI texts at the center of a Republican uproar have been found. Some Republicans raised concern about 5 months' worth of missing messages from the FBI system, including texts between FBI employees Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, both former members of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team. President Trump called it one of the biggest stories in a long time. The Justice Department blamed it on a technical glitch affecting multiple FBI devices. The Justice Department's Inspector General now tells Congress it recovered missing texts between Page and Strzok from that 5-month span using forensic tools. On CNN, the White House reacted.
It's good that they've recovered some of those messages. What's important is what is in those messages, and do they reveal political bias? Those
newly found messages haven't been released, but one previously disclosed message caught the attention of Republicans in Congress.
All I'm saying is I've heard it's right in the text. You can see the text. They use that. Maybe we ought to have the first meeting of the secret society. It's not my words, that's theirs.
ABC News obtained this text from Page to Strzok. Are you even going to give out your calendars? Seems kind of depressing. Maybe it should just be the first meeting of the secret society. Sources tell ABC News Page and Strzok had a personal relationship, and the reference to a secret society may have been in jest. Some sources speculated it was an insider joke. Now Senator Ron Johnson admits that may be the case.
Do you agree that it appears to be it was in jest?
It's a real possibility.
The messages between Page and Strzok were first discovered as part of the Inspector General's investigation into how the Department of Justice and FBI handled matters relating to the 2016 election. That investigation is still ongoing. Arlette Saenz, ABC News, Washington.
A miraculous recovery. That's what doctors are saying about one of the victims of October's deadly attack at a Las Vegas concert. Jovana Calzadias was shot in the head and was not expected to survive after the shooting spree that killed 58 concertgoers and injured hundreds more. Now she's getting ready to head home. Calzadias was initially treated at a Las Vegas hospital where doctors gave her a grim prognosis.
The next day, a doctor came in and asked me if she wanted to be an organ donor. And I told him we weren't going that route yet.
Even though I will not be the same old Jovana, I will come back stronger. We will not let people like him win, and we will not live in fear.
Well, doctors say she has a long road ahead of therapy, but she's expected to be released from the hospital in a few days and then return home to her husband and their 2 children.
Wow, good for her. Pretty soon, people with concealed weapons licenses may be allowed to carry guns on the property of churches and other religious institutions that have schools. In a narrow 6-4 vote, the Senate Judiciary Committee approved that bill. Current law prevents people from carrying guns at schools. That measure was amended today to specify that guns would only be allowed on church property when school is not in session. Still, there are many who are not in favor of that measure.
Our places of worship should be gun-free, that people should be able to worship without guns in their presence.
I have communities of faith call me all the time and say, what do we need to do to be able to protect ourselves from harm? Because our doors are open wide, we welcome people, we get people that have problems.
A similar bill in the House does not limit the time when guns can be carried to non-school hours only. Both the Senate and House bills have one more committee stop before they can be taken up by the full chambers.
Florida may end up paying for private tutors, books, and other services for struggling third graders in the future. A Florida House panel today voting for a bill that would create a new scholarship program for students who perform poorly on the standardized reading test given to third grade students. That's the same test that can be used to hold back students from moving on to fourth grade. Under this measure, parents would be reimbursed after paying for tutors and other services. The scholarship provision is part of a sweeping education bill that also includes other changes to standardized testing rules and charter schools.
A Suncoast Elementary School music teacher and the music programs at 2 local middle schools are being honored by the Florida Music Education Association. Laurel Nokomis Elementary music teacher Charles Allen was one of 9 teachers statewide to receive the 2018 Music Education Service Award. Allen was recognized for his 31 years of service in music education. And 2 Sarasota County middle schools, Brookside and Woodland, were also presented with middle school music enrollment awards. Those awards are given to music programs demonstrating high enrollment in music courses.
Music alive and well here in our Suncoast schools.
Good to hear.
Still to come in your Suncoast news, alarming new numbers from the Centers for Disease Control.
Why health experts are concerned that young adults are not getting tested for HIV.
SRQ Performance Parts provides parts and accessories from over 300 manufacturers, so you can get that new manifold, carburetor, gasket, bolt kit, or nitrous oxide system fast. We'll help you beat the competition. Call or visit SRQ Performance Parts online today for all your high-performance parts and advice.
Start the year off with big savings during the Start Something New event at Sunset Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Sarasota. Shop the area's largest selection of new Ram trucks, and for a limited time, you can take your new Ram 1500 home for as little as $19,999, or go big and step up to a new Ram Crew Cab and save up to $13,000. Better prices, bigger selection. Go to Sunset Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Sarasota today.
The classic film Singing in the Rain is coming to the Players Center in a live stage show opening January 17th. All the dances and all the songs you've come to know and love, all a part of our Wild Broadway series. Get your tickets now for this limited run by calling the Players at 365-2494 or visit us online at theplayers.org. You too can be singing in the rain.
I heard about the Detoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Detoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Detoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard live up to a set of time-honored principles.
I will always place the mission first.
They stand ready to respond to any crisis.
I will never accept defeat.
They serve in their communities as citizens and as soldiers.
I will never quit.
They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
Learn more at nationalguard.com.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
things are not always as they seem. I'm Stephanie Roberts on Suncoast View. A master of illusion will be in our studio. We'll just have to see what kind of tricks he has up his sleeves. The Sarah Solo Festival highlights solo performers, and one will paint a new picture of mental illness. We'll get a preview. Plus, a Sarasota photographer's new project, and Gold Rush Barbecue joins us in the kitchen.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
My goal every day when I come into work at ABC7 is to tell your stories, give you that major local news and those details that you really care about. I'm Jacqueline Matter, and I'm here for you. Alarming new numbers from the CDC show younger adults are not getting tested for HIV. James Danan explains why in today's Health Minute.
A new study published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's National Health Statistics finds that fewer young adults are getting tested for HIV. Almost 39% of women and 54% of men ages 15 to 44 say they had never been tested for HIV outside of donating blood or blood products between 2011 and 2015. That percentage soared among the group ages 15 to 24 to almost 64% of women and 74% of men who reported never being tested. The most common reason they reported for not getting tested is because they believe they were unlikely to have been exposed to HIV. According to the CDC, roughly 166,000 of the more than 1 million people in the United States who are HIV positive are unaware of their status, and 40% of new HIV infections are transmitted by people whose HIV remains undiagnosed. Doctors recommend testing for anyone who has had sex. For today's Health Minute, I'm James Dinan.
Now your ABC7 First Alert weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Well, after a pretty chilly start, we had a nice finish today with a beautiful sunset going on here just a little bit. We had some cirrus clouds, ice crystals, if you will, at around 30,000 feet move in overhead. And I tell you, the seas are starting to calm down too. So better weather and on the boating front for us tomorrow. Weather headlines read like this. There's a caution should be exercised right now for boaters, but then it subsides tomorrow. Warmer Friday, although it will still be cool to start things off. It'll be breezy too. And then clouds on the increase Saturday in advance of a storm system developing in the Gulf. And then a first alert weather day on Sunday as a result of that low pressure area and cold front associated with it moving across the state. Now we have that high, thin cirrus cloud moving overhead as a result of the subtropical jet stream right now. And no rain around. The high pressure is extremely large across the area. And with that in mind, we aren't anticipating anything too significant. Now, high pressure, which had been in control, is going to shift off to the east a little bit over the next 24 hours. And that will give us more of that east to southeasterly wind flow, which will warm us up. We'll see highs tomorrow back into the mid-70s. And that'll make things a little bit mild, but it will be breezy because of the fact that we have this pressure gradient, which is really tightening up between a high pressure to the east, which is strong, and the low pressure developing to the west. And we're kind of trapped in between the two, and that will create a windy day, at least tonight, and then for the latter half of the day tomorrow. Well, the radar picture showing, again, no rain around here. Things are all quiet, and currently we have partly cloudy skies, 69 degrees. Dew point is at 50. Winds are out of the east at 17. The pressure 30, and that is way up there. 71 the high, and that's the average. 51 was the morning low. 53 right now in Jacksonville, 65 in Orlando. It's 73 now recorded in Miami. And temperatures in the upper 60s right near the coast. 71 in Punta Gorda, and the Gulf water temperature at 60. Venice here at 68 degrees. And 68 in Mayaca City. Well, tomorrow's forecast is calling for temperatures to start in the low 50s and will warm up right around 74, 75 degrees in the afternoon. And just a few clouds are anticipated throughout the latter half of the day. And it looks as though the rainfall forecast looking like this. For Sunday, at least through Saturday, most of the heavy rain will be to the north of us. And the forecast models yesterday were suggesting maybe a little later in the day on Sunday. And now the ones that came out today are suggesting maybe around midday on Sunday, we'll start to see that rain move in. So if you have an early tea time on Sunday, probably okay, but then as you move past the noon hour, you're going to start to see some rainfall there. As far as rainfall totals go, it doesn't look all that impressive now, with some of the models indicating just over a ½ inch from Manatee County southward down into Sarasota County, maybe up to an inch in some isolated areas inland, especially into Wauchula and into Arcadia. Well, the futurecast for us calling for nice weather tomorrow and into Saturday. We'll start to see that increase in cloudiness move in as a result of that storm system developing. You can see quite clearly that storm kind of gathering out to the west of us on Friday afternoon, but we're in for delightful weather for Friday, and Saturday will still be warm, although clouds will be on the increase a little bit, but then that storm system really getting its act together south of Louisiana all the way into the western Gulf of Mexico, and then tracking off to the east. Well, current temperatures now into the 20s and 30s over parts of the northeast United States. Boston at 27, Chicago fairly mild at 43, 64 in Kansas City, and 56 in Atlanta. 16 though, that's the wind chill right now into Minneapolis. For boaters tomorrow, I should say through tonight, small craft actually not an advisory, but exercise caution. Winds will be east at 15 knots, and then the forecast for the next 7 days look like this: 74 for a high tomorrow, 76 on Saturday. First alert day on Sunday with a 77 high, and then it cools off to 71 on Monday. Could be a few morning showers as well on Monday. 64 for a high on Tuesday. Wednesday it warms up to 68 and 73 on Thursday. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Bob. Time now to check your first alert traffic for the drive home. If you are traveling around South County, the roadways are looking clear. North of that, however, we are seeing some delays along I-75 in the northbound lanes near the University Parkway exit, but it does not appear to be clearing up.
There will soon be fewer Toys R Us stores in the U.S. The once dominating toy store announcing a number of closings at its stores starting in February. Hobbled by $5 billion in debt, the company filed for bankruptcy protection in September. The majority of the targeted stores will be closed by mid-April. The lone remaining store here on the Suncoast in Bradenton is not part of those closings.
Well, Apple is hoping to compete with Amazon and Google. Their new smart speaker hits store shelves next month, while pre-orders for those in the U.S. start tomorrow. HomePod will go head-to-head with other smart speakers on the market, including Amazon Echo and Google Home. The device can play music and podcasts. It can also control other devices in your home through Apple Siri's voice assistant.
Probably won't make her frown turn upside down, but Grumpy Cat's owner just won a $700,000 lawsuit. The cat is an internet celebrity who has appeared on TV shows and commercials. Her owner cut a deal with the Grenade Beverage Company 5 years ago to sell a line of iced coffees called Grumpy Cat Grumppuccino. But the company used the cat's image in other promotions, including T-shirts and a line of roasted coffee. And that didn't make Grumpy happy, as you can see right there. Yesterday, a jury in California awarding the owner more than the $700,000.
I don't even know what to say. The cat's so cute, though.
Yeah.
I mean, even with that grumpy little face, so cute. Well, stay with us. Entertainment news is coming up next.
Motor Trend said the new Alfa Romeo Giulia is hands down the best sports sedan you can buy today, and named it the 2018 Motor Trend Car of the Year. Rediscover your passion for driving at Sunset Alfa Romeo of Sarasota.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 70.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard live up to a set of time-honored principles.
I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade.
Learn more at nationalguard.com.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. Our promise means a new car you'll love. If not, return it for one you do. At Sarasota Ford, we promise live market pricing. We monitor national pricing on our entire inventory, so you get the best deal. In fact, we guarantee it. Bring us any competitor's ad, and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Why settle for less? Get more for your money at Sunset Subaru in Sarasota. Subaru is Kelley Blue Book's 2017 most trusted brand, best overall brand, and lowest 5-year cost to own. And Subaru Impreza is an IIHS top safety pick for 11 years running. Lease the all-new Subaru Impreza for just $185 a month, or get 0% financing and 0 down with complimentary maintenance included. That's right, not 1 penny down. Get more for your money. Go to Sunset Subaru in Sarasota.
Chris Domine is a husband, father,
an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said if you don't do dialysis, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Then Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
When evaluating the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, Car and Driver magazine said every crossover should be this good to drive. We agree. Rediscover your passion for driving at Alfa Romeo of Sarasota.
Illusionist David Copperfield, the newest celebrity facing allegations he drugged and sexually assaulted an aspiring teenage model in 1988.
The entertainment publication The Wrap reports the then 17-year-old met Copperfield while taking part in a modeling competition in which he was a judge. According to The Wrap, she says Copperfield invited her to a show in California. Afterwards, he allegedly poured something in her drink at a bar and then later had sex with her in a hotel room. Copperfield took to Twitter with a statement. He said he supports the Me Too movement, but he also mentioned previous accusations saying he had been falsely accused in the past.
A new survey of pop charts over the past 6 years finds that men overwhelmingly dominate the ranks of artists and songwriters. That's according to researchers at the University of Southern California. They found that women comprised just 22.4% of artists and 12.3% of songwriters on the Billboard's singles charts. The study also finds that 2017 represented a 6-year low for female artists. Last year, a mere 2% of producers of 300 popular songs were female.
More than 40 years after Lynyrd Skynyrd's debut album was released, the rock band will kick off its final tour. The Rock and Roll Hall of Famers announcing today the farewell tour will start in West Palm Beach on May 4th. Formed in Jacksonville, some of the band's famous hits include Freebird, Sweet Home Alabama, and Simple Man. The band was struck by tragedy when a plane crash in 1977 killed lead singer Ronnie Van Zant, guitarist Steve Gaines, backup singer Cassie Gaines, and several members of the road crew. The lineup now includes Gary Rossington and Ronnie's brother, Johnny Van Sant. So one more chance to see a classic band.
Right, and we just got that news yesterday about Elton John and his last tour as well. I don't know if I can take it. Well, stay with us. We'll be right back with more news and weather.
It's time to take a road trip. Burn rubber for Birmingham, where you can feed your need for speed at Barber Motorsports Park and Museum. Now this gets my motor running. Meet Ironmen. Hey there, big guy. And make a date with your 9-iron. Feed the animals at the zoo and the birds. Then enjoy the award-winning restaurant scene. Alabama has a road trip with your name on it. Which one you gonna take?
My name is Stephen Campagna. We're Ben Gates and Dramus, and here is your law tip of the week. If you've been arrested in the state of Florida, the state attorney's office is already working on your prosecution. It's time to work on your defense. So give us a call. We've got your back.